the German Shepherd, used all of the space on the ground, and Sawyer sat up on the back seat with my sister.
That's cute.
Yep.
It's just one of those things. One of those things that happens.
It's one of those things.
Talking about trucks, there's also the Ridgeline too, which is a good choice. It's got similar seating there, but that's an actual truck. So if you were interested in trucky type things, they still got a nice interior.
Is it a real? Is it a real truck though?
I like a good truck.
That's debatable. If you consider a truck
that's
to be
like the
body on
truck
frame.
guy, like you know, where they scratch like I don't see a rear differential on that. Well, shaped like a pickup.
Yeah, it's basically a minivan with the rear lopped off, but it has actually really nice to drive. It's got a lot of cool features. It tows pretty well. I think it's got 5,500 pound tow rating, so that's decent. But it's got a lot of cool stuff like a cooling chest in the trunk that you can.
Oh, nice.
With ice if you want to. We actually had one out on a video shoot one day. We filled it up with ice and filled it with drinks, which was pretty great. And speakers in the back, which is cool for tailgate and stuff like that. So it's a pretty cool rig.
So this really bums me out. Mazda stopped. Was it the Mazda 5 that was like their minivan?
The MPV maybe, something like that.
It was something small, like a minivan would be too big, but I would like to be able to cram my kids, myself, and my wife, and lots of groceries in.
Yeah, sure.
Without trying to cram it on my Camry.
Yeah, that's a tough segment in the U.S. Unfortunately, it's really hugely popular in Europe, but the kind of tall wagons like the Ford EcoSport and stuff like that, they haven't really played too well in the U.S. market, unfortunately.
Like, because minivan's kind of bulky. Like for even like
kinda
like the original like Chrysler minivan. Actually, even the original Honda Odyssey were the perfect size, but minivans have like increased 50% in size.
Yeah, and they really evolved into more luxury machines as well. You know, stuff like the Chrysler Pacifica. You know, those are very nice, very well equipped machines, and they're not exactly the kind of basic family haulers that they used to be, which is a little bit unfortunate. That segment doesn't really exist anymore. So many people moved over to SUVs now that's really where the focus is right now.
Yeah,
so
I mean, we have
minivans and wagons have been left behind.
Hey Tim, how should we introduce you these days?
Editor-in-Chief of CNET's Roadshow, I guess is probably best.
Chief of CNET's Roadshow. Got it. All right. And then, Sarah, can you bump your volume up just a tiny bit?
I can. Yeah.
There you go.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Sound better? Yeah. I parted it down for for our little cross promo earlier today.
Okay. Gotcha.
Just sounded better at the time. Thank you for reminding me.
No problem. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Then I think we should do this show, by golly. Let's do it in like, I don't know, 15 seconds, something like that. Settle in, get your favorite snack, drinks, whatever you need. Audience, obviously. Turn off your cell phones. All right. Those are the sounds of us getting ready. Here we go. 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks to everyone who supports Daily Tech News Show directly. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, November 9th, 2018 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
And from the fringes of LA County, I am the show's producer, Roger Chang.
Very happy to have joining us the very first guest Daily Tech News Show ever had, Tim Stevens, editor-in-chief of CNET's Roadshow. Welcome back to the show, Tim.
Thanks for having me, Tom. It's been way too long.
Yeah, we've had him on since that first episode. But it has been a while. It has been too long since we had you back. We're going to talk about electric vehicles, Tim. You're going to tell us about some trucks.
Yeah, it's a really interesting and I think underserved part of the overall EV community at this point. But there's some interesting developments coming up, some cool technologies, and some cool companies that are starting up in that area. So it should be a good conversation, I think.
I'm going to get you all ahead of the curve with that. Let's start, however, with a few tech things you should know.
Microsoft said a fix has been deployed for an activation issue that caused some valid Windows 10 Pro users to see a message prompting them to install Windows 10 Home or get a genuine copy of Windows. Microsoft said that customers would not need to take any action and can continue to use Windows 10 Pro as usual. The issue should be resolved by the end of today, at least at this time of recording, is Friday.
GE-owned Avitas Systems has received the first FAA approval in the U.S. to fly a 55-pound or higher UAV beyond visual line of sight without a spotter for commercial purposes. That's actually the key right there. The fact that they can fly it without seeing it remotely through a camera, obviously, and charge people for it. Avitas could do this before. They just couldn't charge anyone for it. Avitas will use the drone to inspect infrastructure for Shell Oil at facilities in the Permian Basin in Loving County, Texas.
Disney announced its upcoming streaming video service will be called Disney Plus, the plus sign, and will launch in late 2019. Among a selection of Disney movies and TV shows, the service will launch with 2 live-action Star Wars series, the vehicle run by Jon Favreau, and a series following Kaz Anchor, said before the company said to take place before the movie Rogue One. Disney also confirmed the new services will have live-action Marvel series focused on Loki, played by Tom Hiddleston. Sorry, I need to get back up to date on my Star Wars.
All right,
many vehicles.
I'm going to buy you Rogue One,
okay,
the movie, on Singles Day, the world's biggest shopping day, which takes place on Sunday, November 11th. Singles Day, if you don't know, we've talked about it on the show in past years. It started back in the 1990s in China as a day to celebrate bachelorhood. Then it sort of evolved into celebrating relationships. And now it has been used as a promotion by Alibaba's Tmall for 10 years as a way to promote buying things for each other. And in fact, all of Alibaba's properties use it. Last year, Alibaba sold more than $25 billion in goods on Singles Day. They expect to top $35 billion in sales this year. It has grown beyond Alibaba as well. Other e-commerce companies like JD.com and Pinduoduo China also have sales on Singles Day. And it's expanded outside of China across Southeast Asia. I know in the U.S., we here get all focused on Black Friday, but Black Friday ain't nothing compared to Singles Day.
Also, I mean, okay, I understand the concept of Singles Day. Great, fine, good. I'm a single person as well. I know what it means to buy a lot of your own stuff. However, how much of this really has to do with the lifestyle, and how much of it really has to do with sort of that Black Friday thing where it's just a date?
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, again, it started back in the day as a way to celebrate relationships or the beginning of relationships, or even a lot of weddings would happen and people would stop being single. I'm sure that still happens. But these sales, they're all about deals. Just as not everyone's buying gifts on Black Friday in the US, not everybody's celebrating relationships on Singles Day in China. Tim, what would you do for Singles Day?
Yeah, I gotta admit, I wasn't really familiar with how incredibly massive this was. But as you mentioned, it dwarfs Black Friday. I think $35 billion are expected to do this year, which compares to like $6 or $7 billion in the US maybe for Black Friday. So it's absolutely massively huge. And yeah, it's really interesting phenomenon. And it's kind of amazing how a little trend like that can kind of balloon into this big thing. It's like Cyber Monday ultimately was kind of the same sort of thing. And now it's pretty huge too.
You avoided the question. What are you buying for Singles Day?
What am I buying?
Yeah, as somebody with dogs and children.
Yeah, probably movement roller for the cars to get all the hair out. Sorry to dodge the question. I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay.
Research from a team at the University of Pennsylvania showed that the first evidence of a causal link between time spent on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat and decreased well-being is a thing. The study divided 143 undergraduate students in a control group that behaved as normal, and then a second group that limited their time to 10 minutes per platform per day. The group with social media restrictions showed significant reductions in loneliness. The group hopes to conduct further studies invoking other social media platforms and other age groups.
Yeah. So, and the researchers will be the first to tell you this is not the last word on this. They want to study other age groups, as they said. They want to try to find whether people were moving on to other platforms. Maybe there are platforms that cause you to feel less loneliness, and because they stopped them from using Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, maybe Tinder and Twitter made them feel better. I know a lot of people are skeptical that Twitter might be that, but they want to study that. But this is, in fact, showing evidence of a causal relationship. It's not showing a causal relationship. It's important to note. It's showing evidence of a causal relationship, which warrants more study.
Tim, I don't know how you feel about this. We hear so many of these stories, like social networks are making us worse. Well, okay, what if we get rid of a variety of photo filters that make everybody look more beautiful than they are, so the rest of us don't feel? It's like, is it about kind of managing expectations of the social network, or is it actually just a social network that should not exist and makes people actually feel worse?
Yeah, it's really hard to know because for me, Instagram is fairly low stress, and I actually feel kind of connected with my friends more when I see what they're up to. Especially, I think the addition of stories has really helped me to feel more connected with friends in terms of kind of the inane things they're going through in the course of a day. But I can definitely feel how if maybe you're not getting out on a given day, if you've got a quiet week going on, how maybe you would feel like you're maybe left out of the party. Certainly, if all of your friends are checking in on a Friday night and you didn't get an invite to hang out. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities for things like that. But ultimately, I really don't know what the solution is. I don't really feel like we can kind of mandate or create some kind of a filter that could really prevent that. Honestly, for me, whenever I feel down about social media, it's just a question of disconnecting. And I think ultimately that's something that we need to, as a society, get a little bit more comfortable about, is simply being okay with not being on Instagram for a day or two or a week or a month even. And that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah, I think it's important to consider the first step to be you, not what someone else can do, but what you can do to limit your own consumption. Maybe you've never thought about it before. And what I like about the study is it doesn't say eliminate it. It says limit it to 10 minutes. At 10 minutes per day, there was a reduction in loneliness. So that would be the place to start. See if you can do that. Now, if you have problems limiting yourself, then you might.
Run a bigger problem there. For us, it's a bit of a challenge too, because I think for us, social media is so much of our professional livelihood almost, where we almost need to be connected. Certainly for me, Twitter is a great source of news. And so I'm on there constantly all day long. And Twitter is, I'd say, the most depressing social network of the moment. So, it's pretty hard to filter that stuff out. Even, I've got a filter that's just journalists, and it's in theory just, interesting news stories, but it's still a lot of depressing stuff filters through there. And it's
I'm very active at muting and unfollowing people when they start to bug me in my Twitter feed. And that helps a lot, like pruning your feed. I don't know if enough people do it, or if they realize they need to do it. Like, man, all of these people are angering me. It's like, well, maybe don't follow them, but they're my friends. Like, well, maybe unfollow them for a while or mute them or something.
Well, and I think the sort of like, that's my friend is one aspect. Also, somebody may provide a real news value to you. And of course, we're all in the news business. So there are a lot of people that I follow where I'm like, I don't like your style. You actually kind of made me feel crappy right now, but you actually provided me a news value. So there's a little bit of that going on as well.
A study shows Sprint slows traffic to Microsoft's Skype video call service in the United States. The study is by teams at Northeastern University and the University of Massachusetts using information from 100,000 users of the WeHe app. This is an app meant to look for net neutrality violations. Between January 18th and October 15th, the throttling of Skype by Sprint was found in 34% of 1,968 full tests. A full test involves running the test twice in a row to avoid any false positives. The effect was spread out geographically. It wasn't in any particular place, but affected Android users more than iOS. A spokeswoman told Reuters from Sprint that Sprint does not, quote, single out Skype or any individual content provider in this way. So it's still possible they were just slowing down video in general and Skype happened to over-index. But they've definitely been caught doing it.
It's a little bit disconcerting, of course. I mean, I think this is what we were all a little bit worried about with the whole lack of net neutrality in the U.S. But this, it's a little bit too early to know, I think, whether this is actually an overt action or simply, like you mentioned, maybe something, a filter gone wrong. So I guess we'll see how this shakes out. But I'm really, really, really glad to hear that that folks are watching this as closely as they are. I think that was the most encouraging thing for me out of this story.
Yeah, and whether you're for or against legislation on the matter, the idea of holding companies accountable, I think, is generally agreed on so that you can make your decisions, if you have a choice, over who to choose. And in mobile, generally in the United States, you do have a choice. So this is the kind of thing you want to see happen. You want to see studies done like this on a regular basis to help you make an informed choice.
Yeah.
Amazon said Friday it'll start selling Apple products directly and have access to, such as the new iPad Pro, iPhone XR, XS, Apple Watch Series 4, and Beats headphones. The deal covers the US, the UK, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Japan, and India, with the new products hitting Amazon sales in the coming weeks.
Now, here's the thing. This is done in exchange for Amazon cracking down on unauthorized Apple sellers. You can no longer go onto Amazon as a seller and sell an Apple product if you don't have the authority from Apple to do so. So those people are getting pushed off to eBay. Not saying it's illegal. Amazon's just saying, we're only taking authorized Apple retailers from now on. Here's where you apply if you want to sell Apple stuff. And that explains a lot of this back and forth about Apple TVs. A lot of people thought, oh, is it because of Prime Video, et cetera, et cetera? But then Prime Video showed up as an app on Apple TV. It's been about authorized resellers. Apple wanted Amazon to kick them off the platform. Amazon probably didn't want to for the longest time. And they finally came around to some terms that Amazon said, okay, that makes it worth it for us. We'll do it.
Though no HomePod, though, interestingly, and that I think is, it's really interesting to me to see what products Amazon will and won't sell. And it's not exactly net neutrality, but it is interesting to me that they are so reluctant to sell any products that are directly competitive with some of their own main products. We've seen this with Google in the past, and that I think is a little bit frustrating for me. But that must have been one of the more heated discussion points between Apple and Amazon in figuring all this out.
Yeah, and if you didn't catch it, even secondhand. You're not allowed to sell used items on Amazon unless you're an authorized Apple retailer. And again, you can become one. They'll help you figure out how to apply to become one, but Apple doesn't have to approve you if they don't want to, and they may not. So Krebs on Security reports the U.S. Secret Service is warning that criminals have been using U.S. Postal Service's informed delivery service to conduct fraud. The way the service works, the U.S. already scans all of the mail that goes through it as part of its scanning system. And what they hit upon is, hey, we can share the scan of the outside of the mail with the recipient ahead of time so they know what to expect, which is kind of a nifty thing. So you know if that letter is coming today, maybe you'll want to rush home to get it or not. The criminals, what they do is sign up for the service as if they are the residents, then use the email to tell them when a fraudulently ordered credit card is showing up so they can go steal it out of your mailbox. That way you never know it was even signed up for, and until suddenly you get a bill. To mitigate against the attack, Krebs recommends that you sign up for informed delivery yourself and for every valid recipient of mail at your household. That way somebody else can't sign up in your name.
I mean, I kind of had to laugh when I heard this morning because I just signed up for the service because I just moved apartments. And I was, as Tom had told me, this is actually a really great thing. You see the mail before you go, if you're going to go back to the old mailbox or whatever, you have a good idea of what's there. The service itself is really convenient. But yes, the whole stealing identity part is very much not.
Now, Krebs called him on the carpet a while ago saying you need to have some verification, and they do that now. They will send you a piece of mail that says, hey, you signed up for this. Are you sure you want it? Does it go into the right email address? But the criminals will then just steal that too. So you don't ever see it.
It's pretty rare that we get security alerts that actually kind of turn you on to a cool new service. So if anything is good coming out of this, I guess it's that. But yeah, it seems like there's got to be a better way to do some sort of two-factor authentication, because it's basically just sending you another letter. And yeah, that seems a little short-sighted to me.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know what that would be. I mean, if you can't rely on a piece of mail showing up to be that second factor for something like this, I'm not sure how else you would prove it. Because that is a pretty good way to do it. But yeah, there's also supposedly a way you can email to block, like you're saying, I don't want informed delivery, but I don't want anybody else to have it. But Krebs says they tried it and didn't get any response. So they're not sure whether it actually works or not. Hey, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com, our sister show. We also have another sister or brother show, MVGB, Monthly Video Game Briefing. If you want video game briefing for you, not for that person who plays a lot more than you or the casual gamer, you're somewhere in between, you're listening to this show and you just want to know what's important in video games every month, check that out, dailytechnewsshow.com/MVGB. All right, we hear a lot about electric cars, especially from Tesla, but It's always about sedans, if not flat out sports cars. So what about the good old consumer truck? Your painter, your contractor, just somebody who wants to haul some stuff around. You live out in the country, you want a truck. Tim Stevens covers that space for CNET, so I thought we'd ask him. Tim, if I want a flatbed truck, am I still stuck with gasoline?
You are. I'm sorry to say, there are some conversions out there. There's a company called XL that will convert an existing truck into like a plug-in hybrid kind of thing if you're willing to drop another 10 grand. But there really aren't anybody, or there aren't any companies in the market right now selling full-on EV trucks just yet. But there are some coming. Bollinger is a really interesting company that has a couple of really cool trucks, an SUV called the B1 and a truck as well coming out. And these are full-on EVs with a lot of power, a lot of torque, over 500 horsepower and 500 foot-pounds of torque. So it should be plenty for towing and plenty for everything else. But these are definitely going to be on the pretty high end. They haven't announced formal pricing yet, but we're looking at probably in the $60,000, $70,000 range, something like that. So they're going to be pretty spendy, but they look really cool. I think they've done a really good job of taking, I think, some design cues from the Land Rover, honestly, the original Defender, and some other tweaks there to bring that to a new high-tech product, which is nice. But again, this is a small company with a cool idea that's not going to hit the market for another year or two, and it's going to be very expensive when it does come.
Man, the weird thing about the Bollinger is they're taking advantage of the way the design of electric motors is different. So you can haul lumber by just sticking it all the way through the underside of the truck, basically.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about EVs that will actually work really well for trucks is that, you know, you can create these flat skateboard battery packs that go in the bottom of the truck effectively, which means you've got this really flat platform that you can either build, you know, a luxurious car on top of, or you can just build a lot of cargo on top of as well. And given the traditional body on frame construction of a truck, that actually works really well for creating a nice space for batteries to live as well. But that's something that really most manufacturers haven't tapped into just yet. So it should provide some good opportunities. Plus, you have a lot of torque in trucks, which is great for in EV trucks, which is great for off-roading if you want to. You know, if you want to do hardcore rock crawling, you usually have to do some kind of reduction gears to get enough torque out of a bigger motor. Not have to worry about any of that stuff with an EV. You have all the torque you want to from 0 RPM. So a lot of great advantages for that kind of thing as well. But the biggest thing I think that's going to slow the adoption down is that your average truck buyer, they don't really care about fuel economy. They don't care about the environment so much, to be honest with you. And they really just want, you know, something that's going to handle every situation they can throw at it. And so right now, gasoline it makes a lot of sense for that buyer. But there are definitely a lot of advantages for EVs, and I hope that we can find more of a market growing there soon.
Yeah, I think is it the W15 hybrid that's sort of the F-150 of EVs for Ford? Is that fair to say?
Right, yes. So Workhorse has got the W15, which they actually showed at CES this year, and that's coming to market in the pretty near future. I think that'll be starting at around $60,000 and going up from there. That's actually based on a Silverado. So they take a Silverado and they kind of take it apart.
Owners. I didn't mean to offend.
But that's definitely the kind of thing where it'll be a plug-in hybrid where you can drive, I think, about 80 miles on a charge. But then it's got a range extender, so similar to the Chevrolet Volt technology, where you can fill it up with gas and still drive on further if you want to. And so that's still basically a conversion of an existing truck. But Ford is working on a full-on hybrid version of the F-150, which they promised to bring to market by 2020. And the really cool thing about both the Workhorse W15 and the proposed F-150 as well is that you can actually power your power tools from the truck. You'll see a lot of trucks driving around with kind of a generator strapped in the back that's kind of bouncing around and getting covered in filth. And then the person drives to the job site, and all day long they have that generator just droning on. But you can imagine if a very near future where you can just basically plug all your power tools right into your truck and tap into the 15, 20, 35 kilowatt hour battery pack that's sitting there under the bed. That could actually be a really nice solution for job sites, but also for stuff like tailgating too. You can have a nice big speaker system plugged in the back too, which could be cool.
I just wanted to add, these would be great for convention centers. Now, if you've ever been to a convention center where they're setting up booths and stuff, they have a lot of internal combustion engine powered forklifts run on propane, but they have a separate tank to collect all the emissions, because you don't want to just be in a giant building filled with carbon monoxide, because everyone would pass out. But you could use an electric vehicle in that setting without any modifications. You can roll in, roll out. People won't be sick from diesel or gas exhaust. And if you need to be around, people with sensitive conditions, it'd be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And that actually works out pretty well at auto shows as well. You know, they have to be very careful about what cars they fire up and when they fire them up at auto shows. But in EV, you can kind of drive them around all you want to. So it works out pretty well there too. But yeah, the lack of emissions is great. And honestly, even, you know, like I mentioned off-roading before, you can even like ford through a lot of water because there's no air intake in them too. So not only the exhaust, but the intake is removed. And then there's also maintenance. You know, EVs are so easy to maintain. There's no oil to change, no coolant to flush, no timing belts that wear out after 100,000 miles. All that stuff is gone. So in theory, they would be much more reliable too.
So that's the pitch that the automakers have to make to get truck owners to want to buy these is you've got more hauling flexibility, you've got maybe some powering options that you would never have with an entirely gasoline powered vehicle, and lower maintenance. I think lower maintenance might be the most compelling of all of those.
Yeah, it definitely could be, and certainly that's a major cost for business is, you know, looking at the miles per dollar that they're spending, or dollars per mile that they're spending on these vehicles, and that could considerably decrease if they go to an EV, both from fuel consumption, of course, but also from maintenance, and that would make things a lot easier. And certainly most of these things tend to be built from aluminum because they're lighter weight, which would be good for living here in the Northeast. I don't know how many trucks I see rolling around with giant rust holes in the fenders, so that could be eliminated as well. There's a lot of great advantages, but again, the average truck buyer is a very conservative person when it comes to things. So even when Ford introduced aluminum construction in their trucks, for example, there was a lot of people who turned their noses up on that. But then again, Ford also introduced turbochargers in their trucks not that long ago. And now more than half the trucks they sell have turbos. So people kind of got over that pretty quickly. And I think if they could make the case in a strong way, that the market could turn pretty quickly on these things.
Yeah, if it's got a real benefit, I think that's always the key, right? Like it has to be something like turbocharger where they're like, oh, okay, I don't like new things, but that's a really good new thing. So I'm gonna get used to that right away. It does seem like we are at the point where we just need to see more of them come to the marketplace. Like we have these concepts and we have these promises. How long do you think it'll be before you can actually walk onto a dealership and have somebody try to sell you one of these?
Well, the Bollinger is expected to hit the market within the next couple of years, but that's going to be a very low number, very niche vehicle, and again, quite expensive. Ford is expecting their plug-in F-150 to be out by 2020. So that'll begin to kind of set the tide, set the conversation there for what these things look like. You know, we always go from straight gas to hybrid to plug-in hybrid to full-on EV. So I think that'll be the path that Ford follows. But there's also Tesla. You know, Tesla has promised, Elon Musk has said that they want to build a truck as well. We're expected to see the Model Y, their crossover SUV, here in the not too distant future. And in theory, it wouldn't be that difficult for them to take the Model Y and cut the back off and turn it into some kind of a truck. Musk has talked about this repeatedly, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see something there. And honestly, once Tesla starts to do something EV, that kind of opens the floodgates, and then we usually see a lot of other companies following.
Yeah.
Do you know what if any kind of third market or third party aftermarket there is for parts? Because that's one of the big things with trucks is that you have this huge aftermarket, you know, business that's like a mile long of people that sell you aftermarket tires, aftermarket suspension, worn winches, roll bars, you know, everything that would replace, you know, side panels, anything. Is there any kind of, you know, aftermarket business for some of these companies?
Not yet, definitely not. The Bollinger definitely looks like the kind of thing that you could kind of take apart with a screwdriver and a box and wrench. So presumably there could be a lot of easy modifications there if you wanted to. Tesla, though, of course, has been very reluctant to allow a lot of access to their systems. We have seen some aftermarket work and some pretty cool tweaks to the Model S so far. But by and large, that's been, you know, they haven't really gotten much help from Tesla. But the big question, of course, is always, how big of a market do these vehicles have? And you know, it's got to be a pretty substantial user base to then start to, you know, bring on the custom suspension lift kits and the wheel kits and things like that. You know, once Ford builds an electric truck, at that point, you're guaranteed to have pretty strong support from third-party manufacturers, pretty strong aftermarket stuff. But I think it'll take a major manufacturer to kind of wade in before we really see an extensive amount of customization for these things.
Got to have a market before you can have an aftermarket, I guess.
Exactly.
One last question before we move on. I think it's an important one. Range. What are the range like on these things? Because as TextJeb asked in the chat room, Rancher out on the back 100 doesn't want to run out of battery.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to be one of the biggest challenges for sure. The workhorse W15, they're promising 80 miles of electric range, and then I think 300 to 310 miles of gasoline range after that. So that's really solid. Full-on EV, you're probably looking on the order of about 200 miles. I think that's what Bollinger is promising. Aerodynamics is such a huge part of this, and trucks in general are not particularly aerodynamic. So that'll be a challenge for them for sure. But definitely, you're also looking at large vehicles. So in theory, you could slap in a lot more batteries than you could in a sedan. So presumably, we'd want at least 200 miles of range. But again, if you're going to a job site and it's got a charger there, you might be able to top up there and you'd be all right.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for helping us out with this. And folks, if you don't know, the roadshow.com is a place to find out about tech and cars all the time. And Tim is editor-in-chief of that. So go check it out, theroadshow.com.
Thanks also to everybody who participates in our subreddit and also our Facebook group page. If you want to contribute either a story or vote up out or comment on another, please do so. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Also over on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow.
We love hearing from folks. We put your mails in the mailbag, and then Sarah pulls one out and reads it like now.
Indeed, I do. In fact, we thought we'd just keep the whole vehicle theme going today. Warren writes, as I listened to the story about driverless cars, this is from yesterday, I only wish that Len was on today, because it's Friday, to draw a car with somebody volunteering to sit in the safety driver's seat, kind of like the emergency exit row on an airplane. Maybe instead of extra legroom, you get to control the radio. I'm calling it now. Cable news channels will sell loot boxes in which you can skin your anchor to be one of many past anchors, like Walter Cronkite, for example. That would obviously be in a legendary box. So Warren is, he's mixing a few stories that we talked about yesterday, but one of them was the idea of if there is a self-driving car that is a taxi taking you where you want to go, how much does it matter to you that there's actually a human safety driver inside? Tom said, very important. Warren said, well, maybe these roles will continue to evolve when you get to control the radio. If you sit in the passenger seat, and then the idea that cable news channels may have not only AI anchors, but anchors that remind us of anchors past.
Yeah, you could skin with the anchor that you're watching on your browser could be different than the one everybody else watches. Speaking of cars, we can kind of grant Warren's wish in a part. Len couldn't join us today, but his art did. He drew his Friday art ahead of time for us, even though he couldn't be with us at recording time. You can find it on lenperaltastore.com. It's called Electric Pick-em-Up Trucks. And it shows Tom loves himself some electric pick-em-up trucks. It's a very Pixar looking truck with eyes and a smile and a plug to plug it in. And then he drew me in a San Francisco Giants hat for some reason.
Because they're the best baseball team, Tom.
You paid him off.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that they're the best.
Look, Len sent this to us, and then immediately, as Len does, started to self-deprecate and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's not." So what I need you to do, if you can all afford it, is go buy this right now at lenperaltastore.com. Show Len that he's wrong, that his electric pick-em-up truck not only looks great, I want to see the animated adventure of this electric pick-em-up truck and the crazy hijinks it gets up to.
Good stuff, Len. Good stuff. Also, thanks to Tim Stevens for being with us. It's been a while, and Tom mentioned certain places that people can keep up with your work, but let folks know where are the best places to follow everything that you're doing these days.
Yeah, so roadshow.com is definitely the site that you want to check out. But on Twitter, I'm at Tim_Stevens and at Tim Stevens on Instagram. And I promise to not make you feel lonely if you follow me on either place.
Aww.
I follow Tim.
Well, I will hold you to that because lots of my friends do. So thank you, Tim.
Hey, folks, there's all kinds of good stuff at patreon.com/DTNS. If you want to become a member of DTNS, not just a listener, but a member, you can get in the Discord and listen to us record pre-show and post-show live during the day, chat with other folks. I forgot to wear it today, but they voted in the Discord for me to wear this hat, the Universal Studios hat. So I just remembered, and now I've put it on for Hat Friday. Stuff like that can happen and will happen if you're a member of DTNS. So go do it. Patreon.com/DTNS.
Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. please give us feedback. We really appreciate it. We're also live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 21:30 UTC. Find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
We're not on Monday as we observe Veterans Day holiday in the U.S., but we're back on Tuesday with Patrick Beja. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
All right. I'm wearing it now. So the video people will still get to see me in the hat. I meant to bring this up in the pre-show. I
actually, before the show, almost said, "Where's everybody's hats?"
I wish you would have.
But then I didn't have one, so I was like,
The Illini hat came in second, and the Atlanta Falcons hat came in sadly last. So,
yeah.
Jeez, I had all sorts of hats here too. I didn't even know about the tradition. Sorry about that.
Hat Friday, it's a thing.
It's optional.
It's not mandatory. It's encouraged. If you have a hat you like, wear it on Friday.
Yeah, it's encouraged if you want. Yeah, if you have a hat you like. If you can't find a hat,
you are just as great of a guest without a hat.
Oh, I appreciate
it. There's electrucking.
Got my chips cashed in.
Electric trucks on the grid, off the trail. E-trucks. Would you pick up an electric truck?
E-trucks can.
The what?
The e-trucks can. Like Etruscans, the truck drivers of ancient Italy.
I would say Proto-Romans. Tesla keeps on trucking.
That's pretty good.
Pick up batteries, will you?
That's a slow burn, Beatmaster. Batteries keep on trucking because Tesla keeps on trucking implies we were going to talk about Tesla a lot more than we do.
E-trucks. I like e-trucks though.
E-trucks is good too. Yeah.
It's very succinct. I'm picking that. Going once, going twice, done.
Sold.
Sounds good.
I would get an e-truck if actually, the range thing, as long as you can eke out at least 100 miles, it wouldn't be that much of an issue on a charge.
I mean, I was almost thinking about a truck recently because I'm in the market for a new car, and it's like, got the dog, and I mean, you have to do things a certain way, but it's like the truck is a lot more, I don't know, advantageous than it ever was before. And it's not because I'm hauling a bunch of wood or whatever, but it's like, you got just dog stuff.
Yeah, or even if you want to go, to an antique store or a yard sale.
Antiquing. We're all the age that we antique.
In fact, I just got a text from a friend asking to go to the Rose Bowl flea market on Sunday, which is apparently a big thing in Pasadena.
Wow, that sounds cool.
I know. And it's like, that's why you'd want a truck.
Yeah, check out the Ridgeline. I mean, it drives really nicely. For all intents and purposes, it drives like an SUV, like a normal car, and it's just comfortable inside as well. It's a little bit taller, but you still, get the practicality of a short bed, but a bed anyway, and you still get those kind of cool flip-up seats in the back that you'd find in the Fit or the CRV or the HRV. So it's a pretty good choice. And the new one's been on the market for a couple of years now, so you could probably find, if you're looking to go CPO or used, you could probably find one of the newer ones for pretty good money as well. But it's a nice choice. And again, it can tow a little bit if you ever need to. Not you won't be hauling anything too heavy, but 5,500 pounds is pretty decent.
CPO being certified pre-owned. Right?
Yes, sorry.
No, that's right.
Yep, CPO is kind of the choice. If you go for a used car that's sitting on the dealership lot, they've run some sort of checks on it, and so cost you more than buying it from someone around the corner. But in theory, it'll be a little bit in better nick anyway.
Yeah, I tend to like that because you don't end up paying much, if anything, more than you would for a used car, unless you're really good at bargaining, which I'm not. So I like the certified pre-owned because sometimes you get a little bit of a warranty out of it, and it's like a nice filter. So.
Yeah, there's also CarMax, which is kind of a nice in between as well, which is a really nice car buying service where you can basically search for any car that they've got on their lots in anywhere in the country, and they'll ship it to you for a very small amount of money too. So that's a really good way to go too if you're looking for something new.
Well, we've got Sarah a truck. She's going to go to the flea market. She's going to buy some new antique furniture, and then
I'm gonna put it in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Load up your muddy dogs and you'll be good to go.
next time we have you on, you'll see all this beautiful furniture in there.
I look forward to it.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I'm
Tim, what kind of dogs do you have?
I have a couple of mutts. I have a Chow Shepherd Collie mutt, whose name is Bowser, and I have a Chocolate Lab Pit Bull mix. Her name's Yoshi.
Hell, you
Her name's Yoshi?
Yeah.
That's so cute.
She's barking in the background right now. I think my wife just got home, so.
Okay.
Hopefully it's not coming through too loud.
My dogs were barking in the middle of a story earlier. I don't know if you could hear that.
I couldn't hear. I haven't heard any dogs barking.
Mm-mm.
My dog is doing what he does best, which is sleep through our show.
That's good.
He likes it. He says
wrong with that.
he absorbs stuff, kind of just while he's kind of out to lunch.
All right, I think I should get rolling. Thanks so much for having me, and it's real great to see the success of the show, Tom, and how things have grown since that first episode. So, congrats to everybody on how awesome the show's been, and it's a real pleasure to be on as ever.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Tim.
We'll have you back soon. In
Be
fact,
on.
if you're around January 2nd or whenever that is, maybe we should have you back to celebrate 5 years. We'll figure that out later.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'd love to.
Cool.
All right. Thanks,
Have
everybody.
a great weekend. Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks again.
So yeah, January 2nd is a Wednesday. Oh yeah, that'd be the first show back because the first is a Tuesday and we're off.
But and CES is the following week.
CES is we don't travel until Sunday.
So
before.
maybe just make sure that he's not going to be there early because who knows? He could be.
Correct. Very correct. Hey, so guess what I bought today?
What?
A brand new sewer line.
I bought a microwave, but
Oh,
you
yeah?
win.
I don't know. Yours will be able to make delicious food. Mine will be able to carry away the result of delicious food.
Oh, I bet that your purchase was more expensive than mine.
Probably.
Just gonna go ahead and guess. My microwave was $80.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah.
So
If you spent more on your microwave than I did on my sewer line, I would be worried.
it would be a problem.
Yeah.
No, I've been going back and forth for weeks now because the apartment that I moved to just doesn't have a microwave built in, and lots of apartments don't. But I just had one for the last few apartments, so I didn't have a microwave. And I like my microwave burritos. This is how I stay alive.
Sure.
So I was like, oh, all right, well, I'll go to the wirecutter, right? Like find out what the microwave is. And we talked about this on a previous GDI and, kind of went through. And then it's like, then you're crippled by choice. And then it's like, do you care if it's 19 inches wide versus 22 inches wide? I don't know. I've got the room. So the whole thing just became this whole thing where I wanted to, I almost just called you, Tom, and was like, just tell me what I'm buying.
I mean, they left a microwave here too. I could have given that to you.
Well, I ended up getting the Toshiba that the Wirecutter recommended based on how great it is at cooking things. So I'm like, you know what, Sarah, probably just go back to like quality. Stop thinking about all the choices that you have and just pick the one that somebody who spent 70 hours researching this told you to get.
We bought a microwave when we moved from Oakland to San Rafael, because the microwave was built in Oakland and there wasn't one in San Rafael. And I bought whatever was recommended. I don't think it was maybe before the Wirecutter, so it might have been CNET, but I bought whatever the like highest reviewed was. I've been very happy with it, but I can't say that there's something about it that I rave about. Like it's a microwave,
Right.
Thing in, it does the thing. The microwaves that I've had that I would complain about would not get something hot fast enough because their wattage wasn't high enough. So that's kind of the only consideration I can think of is get a higher wattage one, and you won't have problems with things not heating as often. That's about it. That's pretty much the same.
I know. And it's
carousel, if you like the carousel, that way you don't have to turn it. That's another good thing to have.
Sure, of course. Well, I am getting the new microwave on Sunday, so I'll let everybody know on Tuesday how it goes.
Yeah, unboxing.
It'll be my Toshiba microwave unboxing. Yeah. Very exciting.
I will.
I am actually kind of excited about it. Weirdly, I just haven't bought a microwave in so many years.
I'm trying to
I'm
remember.
like, I'm just kind of, I'm not
Yeah.
just getting the one that came with the kitchen. I bought one that
Yeah, it's
seems like
yours.
the best. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's mine.
You've made a considered selection.
I have.
That's
I
really-
also I was joking around with a friend this morning because I was on the wirecutter, just like we're getting this. I don't want to think about micros anymore. I'm going to buy one today, and they have it's like holiday special stuff. So it's like we spent 70 hours on indoor Christmas lights, and here are the best. I'm just like, God, love the wirecutter.
Well, I know that's what I love about it. It's like
Because it's like it's so above and but like you don't need to spend 70 hours on really anything, but certainly not Christmas lights. But somebody did, and has a very informed decision based on that.
They geeked out on Christmas lights, and they're gonna have like it's not necessarily a perfect opinion. Nobody's opinion is perfect, but
sure, yeah, there's some bias there. You take that into consideration, but it's always I often read reviews, word for word of things I have no intention of buying because I just like how they do it.
Yeah.
I like how they're like, okay, well, and then there's this factor. So we considered that as well. And that, took 30 hours. I don't know.
The other thing about the wirecutter is they will not assume that their one answer is right for everyone. Like if you just want us to give you an answer, here it is. But here's why it might not. Here's one that might work for you if you have a different requirement. Like they give you options, or maybe you can't afford the best one. Here's a really good budget one.
Well, and that's the nice thing about the wirecutter is that whatever their overall pick, best in show, is never the most expensive because they understand that price is very important for people. So it's like this is the overall best that also factors in price and size and all sorts of stuff. So for example, a microwave. The microwave that I ended up getting was it was their overall pick because they felt it performed the best, right? Yeah, like it heated things up in the right way and had the right buttons and the whole thing. But it wasn't the most expensive, and it also wasn't the smallest. So then it was like, here's our runner-up that's a little bit more sort of, I don't know, if you care about the aesthetic about microwaves, like there's that. And then here's our small microwave option for people who just might not have a very big kitchen. And that's a really big consideration for a lot of people.
Sure. If you only have the counter space for an 18-inch, you don't want to buy a 22-inch. So.
Exactly. And so, I don't know, I like the way that they do it because it's never like, here's the best because it's the most expensive. That's never what they do. It's here's the best because of all of these parameters.
Yeah.
But if you have a lot of money, like maybe you'd want this more expensive version of what we already,
Oh, right. Yeah. Because they do a budget pick and they do a money's no object pick.
Right.
They're like, you're probably paying more than you need to for these features, but if you really want them, this one has all of it. Yeah, I like that too. I've bought a few things based on the Wirecutter's recommendations.
I've bought quite a few. In fact, these earbuds that I'm wearing right now, they're all Wirecutter. Yeah, they're really, really good with smartphone accessories in my experience.
The only thing that I've ever complained about in following their advice is the luggage I have, the rolly luggage that I have is fantastic. They recommended going and getting the one that's slightly wider than standard because they said nobody ever cares.
But they do.
Well, they didn't, but just in the past couple of years, the shapes of the overhead bins have changed such that being wider sometimes does matter. And now I'm starting to worry that they'll start to care and go, wow, you're actually too wide.
But it hasn't been an issue yet. You're
never
just worried that it will be.
I'm just now. And so, I mean, that's the worst I can say. It's not bad at all. Right.
But yeah, I mean, the TSA stuff changes often.
Yeah. And this isn't TSA. This would be airline. This would be airline policy. And you know how that goes. Like maybe one or two airlines do it, but not all of them do it. And even the ones that do it, they may not enforce it consistently. So it's that kind of stuff that drives me nuts. We're like, I don't want it to happen to me one time in a time that's really annoying because I'm running late or whatever. So, yeah.
Well, I mentioned TSA. This is not the size of carry-on luggage, but I mentioned TSA because when I travel for podcasting stuff, which is pretty often, I've got a whole system. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into this fairly compact bag, that I can carry on. I never check it because everything in there is too expensive anyway. But I want to have it with me. And the TSA regulations starting in 2018, in fact, I think it was, required me to unpack it in a completely different way than I was used to doing it for a year before that. Not the end of the world.
No,
but I wouldn't have gotten the bag that I'm using now, knowing that I have to do what I have to do now
in a different way.
Yeah, I just would have been a totally different bag because it's not. It's annoying to unpack because it's like top loading. It's just really nice when it's packed.
Hey, Roger, are you there? I know Roger's on daughter duty. Hi, we're going to go ahead and end the video now. So thank you everyone for watching, and audio